Okay.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this first meeting of 2021. And so on that note, we turn it over to you, Madam Clerk, for our first resolution.
Okay, we'll be adopting of the agenda. I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Lougheed, seconded by Councillor Trahan.
Madam Clerk, I would like to suggest just one brief change to or modification to the agenda. Given the passing of one of our councillors, I was hoping we might start with following the adoption of the agenda, declarations of conflict of interest, then chair's comments, and then we would proceed to accepting the minutes and moving on to business arising from the minutes.
Would you repeat that again?
Just a slight change in the order of the start of the meeting.
Okay.
After adoption of the agenda, we would go to declarations of conflict of interest.
Right.
Then chair's comments.
Yes.
Then accepting the minutes of the previous meetings. And then business arising from the minutes.
Okay. Is council okay with that?
Any other changes suggested? So if not, would everyone approve the agenda with those slight modifications?
Correct. So moved by Councillor Lougheed, seconded by Councillor Trahan, that the draft agenda presented to council dated the 12th day of January 2020 be adopted with minor changes.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. We will now move forward to declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any to declare with respect to this evening's agenda? And so with no declarations of conflict of interest, we would move forward then with the chair's comments. I simply wanted to say a few words at this point regarding the passing of Deputy Mayor Voyer. Obviously over Christmas, we were all very, very disappointed and heartbroken to learn of Michel Voyer's passing. He seemed so strong and energetic when he last came to our meetings. And for those that may not be aware of it, Michel Voyer came to almost all of, except for the last meeting, he would come at the end in a wheelchair from the hospice with the support of a friend. And that's pretty incredible. And I was personally touched when he had told me that he had asked his physicians to try to keep him alive as long as he could so that he could see some of the projects that were dear to his heart, so that he could see those through as he viewed them important for the community. I did want to say, however, that it was good to see, given our inability to have a memorial or funeral service over Christmas, I did find it good to be able to see social media at work and the many messages that did circulate. It was good to be able to express our grief and to provide messages of condolences. And so we certainly saw the very positive side of social media in a situation like this. I was also, and on behalf of the municipality, I would like to thank the media who brought attention to Michel's accomplishments. And so I thought there was some excellent coverage by the media. And so I'd like to note that as well. We did advise Michel's family, his friends, his wife, his spouse, Lucille, his friends, and the members of our community that in the weeks to come, the municipality of East Ferris will more formally honor Deputy Mayor Voyer's accomplishments. Before moving on to my next comment, I don't know if any members of council would like to say something. If so, you are welcome to do so, but if you'd like to wait to the formal moment, that would be appropriate as well. Thank you. I also thought that as part of our opening remarks, we should acknowledge today the announcement that was made by the province, as I'm sure all members of council and staff were online and followed the announcement by our provincial government. And so basically quickly this afternoon, we convened an informal meeting of our municipality's emergency management committee. And we do have a more formal meeting tomorrow in person set for 1 o'clock. And so basically at this point, we want to understand all of the implications of this stay-at-home order and various other components of this order on the services and strategies and activities of the municipality. And we are asking our CEO, basically the order doesn't go into effect until Thursday at, I guess it's at 12:01. I guess that is Thursday night at 12:01. So we must make sure that our CEO gets back to us prior to the order going forward, and he will provide us with a report. He will provide council with a report of what are the various implications. And so I simply wanted to advise council of that is underway, and we are in good hands as they've already been in touch with many different organizations to understand the implications. We also invite the members of the public. We will be carrying information on our Facebook page and on our website as time proceeds. And so you are certainly invited to follow that information as it is posted. So those were my chair's comments. And are there any other comments by council that they would like to add to the chair's comments?
Not this time.
With that said, then we will proceed to accepting the minutes of the previous meetings, and we do have 2 previous meetings. Basically, pardon me, let's just, the meetings of December 17th. No, pardon me, that's not correct. Hang on just 1 second here. December 8th and
It would be December 15th.
I know it's just not coming up, but that's maybe something, December 8th. So 2 meetings, the meeting of December 8th and the meeting of December 15th, which was a special meeting regarding, I believe, Castle Home. So I know I have the minutes there, but they're just not coming up at this point. So on that note, may we have a resolution, Madam Clerk?
So I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Trahan. That the minutes of the regular meeting held December 8th and the minutes of the special council meeting held December 15th, 2020 be adopted as circulated.
All in favor? Carried, c'est bon. A business arising from the minutes. Is there any business arising from the minutes? I was thinking maybe Councillor Kelly, you might want to provide us a brief update with regards to Castle Home.
I can do that. I was quoted in the paper as saying our council was blindsided by the financial implications that were passed on. The understanding I had personally, was that Castle Home as a separate entity was allowed to borrow money for the restructuring in the neighborhood of $90 million, knowing full well that it would be apportioned out to the member municipalities, our share being something around the $7 million mark. And we would be given 25 to 30 years to pay the debt down, but it would not be a separate loan on our behalf. And all of a sudden, when we got to the table, there was 2 or 3 major implications that were, as I say, blindsided us. One was we were advised we had to either take out a loan or sign for a loan for that amount of money. 2, it would show up as a liability on our books immediately as a long-term debt. 3, the province, instead of coming up with the money up front, was going to pay us back over 25 to 30 years, whereas the restructuring and the rebuilding of the nursing home would take place over 5 years. So all in all, it was something that we had not anticipated. And the financial implications, I'd like to turn it over for a minute to the CAO, who's also our accountant. if he could explain the ramifications long-term, if you don't mind, Jason, please.
Councillor Kelly, what exactly is the question though? Like what ramifications?
Okay, well, the difference between being apportioned over 25 to 30 years as our share, plus the operations cost, compared to having to sign as if for a separate loan of $7.2 million.
Yeah, so you,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Mayor Rushford.
I simply want to make sure, so our ability to borrow.
Exactly. And the cost of borrowing.
Correct. So the two, you somewhat touched on them, but if we had to borrow the money and then pay it up to Castleholm, it ends up as debt on our financial statements. It limits our ability to borrow for our own infrastructure needs. The difference being, and if you guarantee something and you don't have to borrow for them, it's a note on your financial statements, but it still limits your capacity in the future to borrow as well. It just doesn't become debt on the statements, right? So
Yep.
It's best going forward if they're able to borrow in their own capacity, and then we make our annual payments as what was planned, I guess, from the get-go.
Yep. Thank you very much. Just an additional clarification. Now the provincial government is in consultation with BDO, which is the accounting firm involved. We've got some senior advisors with the government involved, as well as the municipalities, including North Bay, because they're in the same position we are. Everyone realizes the necessity of a new nursing home. The older home is outdated. And in fact, I believe it's the elevator they actually at times have to manufacture parts for when it breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in these days, that's just unacceptable. And the proximity of the residents is becoming increasingly dangerous for them because of the COVID crisis, because you need distancing and it's almost virtually impossible in the present conditions. But to think that it's going to be rebuilt over 5 years, and yet the funding will not come our way between 25 and 30 years, totally unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
So we all understand, I think municipally, both staff and councillors understand the necessity.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the financial implications, it just handcuffs us on when it comes to our ability to borrow for our own infrastructure needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Any other additional comments before we move on from this topic? No. I do know that in the minutes as well, there is the matter of the Algonquin land claim, as we had previous discussions. However, given the delegations to council by Mr. Wilcox, I thought we could maybe keep further discussions related to that then. And simply as well, in our minutes, there was mention of the tenders that were being prepared for the East Ferris Community Center. I guess it's the rafters that need to be refurbished, and so these tenders I think have gone out as was included in our Friday weekly report. So thank you very much. It's always a lot of work to prepare a tender and to have it submitted. So thank you for all of that work. That brings us then to, is there any other business arising from the minutes? No, okay, good. We will proceed then to delegations to council, and we do have this evening 2 delegations. The first one will be by Mr. Todd Wilcox, who will be doing a presentation regarding the Algonquin land claims. Now, I understand that his presentation also was prepared with input from Madame Shirley Farron and also by Chris Holmes. And we do have their correspondence as part of our package. And so with that said, I do believe you have them online, Mr. CEO, and they'll be joining us.
Yes, so if council's ready, I'll let Mr. Wilcox in the meeting.
We are.
There we go, Mayor Rushford.
Hello. Good evening, Mr. Wilcox. And so we understand you're representing a group of people, but you are the spokesperson, and you've prepared for us a very good PowerPoint presentation, which you will lead us through, if I understand correctly.
Yes, yes, I will. I'm a Zoom newbie, so let's cross our fingers that everything goes well here.
We're all somewhat the same situation, so.
Well, thanks very much for taking time this evening for us. And I'm presenting on behalf of my neighbors, Shirley Farron and Chris Holmes, and also many people that live on McPherson Drive. And I'm going to flip to the second slide here. And I just want to provide a little bit of background of the Algonquin land claim as it affects East Ferris and the parcels of land in particular. 302B is just off Maple Lane on Centennial, and 83F1, 83F2 are on McPherson Drive, Stepping Stones area, and 83F3 is Camp Island, and we understand that's a bit on hold. 302B, the proposal is for 137 acre subdivision on that property, and on 83F1 and F2, it's about 1,150 acres in total, 47 lots off McPherson Drive and Stepping Stones Lane, and 17 lots off Johnson Road. In particular, 83F1, the boundary of that recently expanded with an update and includes lands outside actually the claim area, closer to Johnson Road. So we can skip slide 3 because I went through that already, and go to slide 4, which shows a drawing of the subdivisions that are proposed for 83F1 and F2. And to maybe help orient you, this is at the end of McPherson Drive, and it's on Stepping Stones Lane. And we're talking about the waterfront. We're talking about Trout Lake, from the McPherson boat launch all the way down to Turtle Lake, and the two lakes in behind, Long Lake and Pan Lake. And all the traffic for that particular development would go through Stepping Stone Lane and out to McPherson Drive. And really, it's simply a road that's not capable of handling all that traffic at this point. And you can see the lots that are proposed for, or development proposed for Johnson Road. The next slide. What I can, if I could use one word to describe that that property that we're talking about, 83F1 and F2, oh, it's a gem, and it's unique in our municipality, and it's home to unique stands of black spruce, jack pine, towering white pine over 100 feet. Home to species at risk, including the landing turtle. The lands are used extensively for recreation purposes, hiking, snowshoeing, hunting, camping, fishing, and not only by the local residents, but by the broader neighborhood and people from North Bay. You would be amazed the amount of use the trails get. And hats off to my neighbor, Chris Holmes, who did a lot of these trails on his own and marks them. They're all well marked and well utilized. And you know what? It's at no cost to the municipality. Mm-hmm. And this is probably one of the best utilized recreational facilities in the municipality. Maybe outside of the arena, and it's probably the most heavily utilized area in the municipality at no cost. And so I think that's really important. And anyways, that gives you a little flavor for the land. Flipping to the next slide in terms of the chronology of events, the provincial government back in the late 90s underwent a process, the Lands for Life process. And really that was a due diligence process for land planning. And as a result of that, 83F1 and F2 at the time, most of that property was included in the extension of the Mattawa Provincial Park. And to protect the historical, ecological, environmental, and recreational value of this area for future generations. How did the province, though, get this so wrong? We're not 10 years later. You flip to the next slide, we see a sort of different chronology of events. The Algonquin land claim process was first announced in the end of 2012 We saw the evaluation report come out in 2017 with the properties that we just talked about, and many parcels across the province included. And on late October, a supplemental report was released. And they're still taking input actually on the supplemental report on a very narrow basis up until January 14th. And at that point, the new lands were added to our parcels from area outside the land claim area. And really through the entire time frame, there was a little bit of public consultation, but not much. The words that come to my mind in terms of what went on over these 10 years, oh, it's like secret, no due diligence process, limited consultation, no local representation, a predetermined outcome. And they've done such a masterful job at this that I would think that the average person knows very little about what's being proposed for our municipality and the impact it's going to have on it. And if we flip to the next slide, it just gives you an update of what was in the latest supplemental report. And you can't believe it. There is no anticipated net effect associated with the transfer of proposed settlements into Algonquin ownership. And there was never any consideration for water quality, deforestation, ecology, all the basic things that we would go into a planning process. It was dismissed. And if you flip to the next one, the whole basis is, it's amazing that, looking at the supplemental report, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry stated Ontario remains committed to a cooperative approach to the land claim settlement that will benefit the Algonquins of Ontario while considering environmental, social, culture, and economic impacts of the proposed land transfer. Words only. Words only. Aspiration maybe at the best. No metrics, no process, no due diligence, though, to look at the environmental, social, culture, and economic impacts on the land transfer. So the purpose of our presentation this evening on slide 10, first of all, we want to inform you that there's a lot of people on McPherson Drive that are unhappy with this entire process. And you know what? Over things that are happening in the last little bit, we almost feel picked on. Like, what's going on? Why is McPherson Drive all of a sudden attracting so much attention? And there's a lot of concern. And we need, if you do have information, the second bullet there, if you do have information, the municipality that is, on what's happening with this process, it sure would appreciate sharing that with local taxpayers and residents. You guys are very good at communicating with the local community. You have a number of tools available. And if you do have information, it would be certainly beneficial to us. We would love if the municipality could intervene and provide what's the scientific information, what's the technical basis for the government, provincial government coming up to these conclusions. And really, if we could provide a forum where we can provide input, create a public record. There's no public record of over the 10 years that this has been going on. There's no public record. And so let's create one very quickly. Let's put it in front of them and for due consideration. I think this is one of the most significant planning issues for the municipality. It touches hundreds of families, and that's why I think we need to take action on this. And slipping to slide 11, really, why do we need to do this now? And why take action now? And we need to take action. The development that we've talked about is really in contravention to our official plan. And if you look at our official plan, what's embedded in it is consultation, environmental responsibility, good planning and consultation, and all the good things that go with our proper planning. And people from, consultants and lawyers are telling us from Toronto or Ottawa, are telling our municipality how it should be developed, not us. And it really begs a question, what is our vision for Centennial and McPherson Drives. The true cost of this too are being, of this provincial issue, federal issue, are being transferred down to the local taxpayer. You know, who's paying for the road infrastructure upgrades for this? And all the other services that are required. You know, that's not cheap. And you guys know the cost of road. You're very familiar with that. And, you know, that's just an example. You know, why as a taxpayer am I paying for that? And if you don't address it now, in the future, you're going to be you're kind of the meat in the sandwich in the future. And because you're going to be placed between the Algonquins or the owners, whoever they sell it to, or, you know, whatever happens.
Mayor Rashford, we are at the 10-minute
10
mark.
minutes. Okay, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. So, Mr. Wilcox, I know you have, I think, one slide left. If you could wrap it up, that would be great.
Sure.
And then we'll have a question period, so you could then touch on the balance of your points.
Okay, so I'll just quickly go to there's a slide that shows the watershed, slide 12, which really shows the watershed that's impacted. And, you know, really slide 13 is really what we think should happen at the local level. And the 302B, 83F1 and F2 should not be transferred for developmental purposes to the Algonquins. And 83F1 and F2 should remain in the park. And, you know, this is really the last slide. This is really about the vision that we have for our municipality in the future and the legacy that we leave for ourselves and for our future generations. Do we want to do it right, or do we just want to go along with the crowd? Let's do it right. And the time to act is now.
Thank you very much for those remarks. It is certainly a matter that has been before this council for a number of years. And we do have, for example, Councillor Kelly, who has been more involved in on this particular file. So, tonight you're certainly adding good information, and we do appreciate that. With that said, I will turn it over to council to see if there are comments or questions to be made or to be asked. Sorry. I see Councillor Trahan and Councillor Lougheed.
Hi, Mr. Wilcox. It's Steve Trahan here.
Hi, Steve.
I agree with you. I've been writing down a few points that you were indicating. This is their plan. This is not East Ferris plan, right? So I get you when you were saying that, and I understand what you're saying. We haven't had any correspondence to kind of answer your question. We haven't had any correspondence. I've never, as far as I've been on, I've never been at a meeting. I've never seen any correspondence from them, just to put you at ease.
Yeah. But in itself, that in itself is almost problematic, isn't it? I'm glad that you reassured us that there's nothing that you haven't shared with us, but it's not being consulted. Isn't that troubling?
So I don't know, like, this is their movement. I don't know, like, there's things that they have to adhere to, mostly for our planning and the way we do our business in East Ferris. So they would have to
right,
put in applications and you know, go on. I agree with you. McPherson Drive is not made up for that type of a, you know,
right.
You know, transportation and all that also. So I agree with you. I think this is probably just the start, and it's going to, we'll probably have some more information. And when we do, absolutely, we'll be letting everybody know. And I don't see a problem with that. And that's what we do, right? We're here working for the residents. We listen to you folks. We're in front of you, right? So we're here for everybody's best interests. So
that's good. I think the problem I have, you know, is kind of sitting back and waiting for this. It's almost an expectation on the part of the opponents that they're going to be able to do whatever they want. It's almost like the horse is beginning to get out of the barn on this, you know? The property gets transferred almost with an intent, almost an implied intent. And then it's going to be very difficult for us as a municipality, I think, to shape this into something that's responsible and benefits local taxpayers as well. That's just, you know, if we don't get on it, I think that's the problem.
we'll see what happens, and we have to fight, we'll fight. So anyway, just to let you know where we are, where I stand on it. So
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Councillor Trahan. We'll move now to Councillor Lougheed.
I was doing some thinking about this over the holidays, and I think that this is probably a good time, and maybe a little bit, I would argue, late time
Yeah.
to but to address a few things. Not only the ongoing development of McPherson, but coming up to our centennial, I do, and I was reflecting, and I don't think that this is anybody's intent. So if you take it any way other than that, that's please be mindful that that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here, but coming up to our centennial, we talk a lot about the history of our municipality, but we don't often talk about how the municipality got here in the first place. And it's an uncomfortable topic to conversation to have. It really is, but I think it's a very necessary conversation to have. And the communication issues and the planning issues aside, there are some big gaps in the conversation on the Robertson-Huron Treaty, treaties in general, how they've been managed and mismanaged. I'd say more mismanaged. The Royal Commission of Aboriginal Peoples of 1996. We haven't honored lots of parts of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. There are parts of this conversation that are completely empty and vacant. And I think those spots need to be filled with a little bit more information, because as you rightly said, that the average person in our municipality doesn't understand right? But I also think the average person in the municipality doesn't understand the larger context of the land claim in the first place. And when we talk about things like, well, this is our space, this is our land, we have a right to judge on how this is going to go. That lens it concerns me a little bit, because that's we got here by doing that I'm not saying it's an eye for an eye, but I do think that there's some learning and education that needs to be done. And I mean that respectfully. I'm not trying to poke the bear. I'm not trying to say that what you're saying is invalid. I'm not saying that I don't have the same planning concerns that you do, and definitely have concerns with communication. So now those two things, those things can be mutually exclusive, they can exist in the same sphere. But I think there is a little bit of learning to be done, and I've been thinking about it. I'm going to bring it forth on the next meeting on maybe how we can catch up a little bit more on some of that stuff, even as a group and as a municipality, because coming up to our centennial, there's a little bit of a gap in that conversation. So I know that this may not sound like I'm appreciative of you bringing this up, Mr. Wilcox, but I am, because I think it's important that we understand a little bit more of this conversation, and in order to prevent larger issues in the future.
I wouldn't disagree with that. A perspective on it, though, is it doesn't do anybody any good, I don't believe. But the approach that's been so far, it's closed door. There's no local involvement. And all this process is doing is alienating more people. It's not solving problems long term. And if anybody thinks that giving some land is going to solve some of our historic problems, come on. There's more to this than meets, I think, that has to be addressed. I would agree with you in that regard. But the solution is not to hide behind closed doors, especially in this day and age. With all the tools that we have available to us, let's try that. Let's aspire to that. But let's talk about all the other, let's make sure everybody has a voice at the table, not just certain privileged parties. That's wrong. And I don't think this is being driven by lawyers and consultants. They have no right to dictate, I don't believe, what happens in our backyard that have come from Toronto, there's no skin in the game for them. Not like it is here. So it's very different. So I don't disagree with you, but man, this isn't easy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things I think that all of us agree on, for sure. I mean, absolutely. There's work to be done on all sides, but I do think that there's a little bit more work that we could be done, even we could be better at it ourselves. So anyway, I'm going to keep it at that. I just want to say thank you for bringing it up. It's important, and I'm glad that you're bringing it forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lougheed. Any additional comments, Councillor Kelly and Mr. Cieo? Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. I've been involved for the last 10 to 12 years, and you're right, it's not consultation, because consultation denotes actually having a back and forth.
Right.
The idea of consultation for them has been, here's what we're going to do, whether you like it or you don't like it. Quite frankly, the Algonquins have not had a treaty. They've been asking for a treaty for some time. But the fact remains that most of the Algonquins in Ontario have already been amalgamated into society as we know it. There's only one reserve of Algonquins in Ontario, and that's the Golden Lake Band down by Rice Lake. And there's anywhere from 50 to, I've heard, as many as 600 people, including its families. So my attitude from day one, and I've brought it up at numerous times at the different meetings, and I've gone anywhere from North Bay to Mattawa and a few places in between when they've had their meetings, is rather than impacting taxpayers and landowners as they are. When there was an airport outside of Ottawa, they gave the Algonquins as an entity $300 million because the land would be on Algonquin land. So my attitude from then on was, why not take all the lands involved? Let's call it 700 million for a round figure. That would put $1 billion of the Algonquins' bank account. Take the interest from $1 billion on a yearly basis, and within 10 years, everyone on the Golden Lake Band would have a brand new home. And you'd still have $1 billion to invest wherever you wanted, with no impact to our taxpayers or other taxpayers across Ontario. The other thing I would tell you in the last 12 years is that as I attended meetings, it seemed like every 6 months, the map became like a sponge, and the area that they were claiming was theirs seems to grow exponentially. So it increased in size and these were not negotiations.
That's right.
And anyone who calls them negotiations didn't attend the meetings, including the two in North Bay.
Right.
So I'm fully aware of the impact this is having on our taxpayers, and I haven't agreed with it since day one. But quite frankly, our voices have fallen on deaf ears when it comes to the provincial government.
We just
So
know that we're in between like this conversation and the 100 years ago, right? Like, do we understand there's a bit of irony here? I'm not saying it's right, but there's a lot of irony here in saying things like no consultation, just taking it. I know, but
don't call it if you're going to mandate what is going on, you don't call it a consultation. You say it's arbitrary and here's what we're going to do.
And I don't believe two wrongs make a right either. And and in this day, too bad 100,000 people moved into this area. I mean, as compared to 100 years ago or whatever. Times have changed. We can't solve problems from 100 or 200 years ago by going back 100 or 200 years. We got to go forward. Let's think about new ways to solve these problems. Transferring part of a park, developing a park, how in the heck does that solve any historic problems? I just really don't understand that. And that's the part that's wrong about this. Not that we shouldn't find a solution. We've got the wrong solution.
Nope. I agree.
And if we don't take a stand and do something now, the municipality are going to have no control over this whatsoever. That's why I think we need to continue to try and do something.
One thing I would say is when I first started attending, and I believe it was an attempt to put people to sleep, they said, don't worry about it because it's 20, 25 years down the road.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how it was sold, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I haven't been, as I say, I've been against it from the start. The process, the end result, the treaty has not been signed. It should have been signed 200 years ago, but that's 200 years ago. That's living in the past.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Two wrongs don't make a right, but there should be a better solution than the one they're coming up with.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kelly and Mr. Wilcox. On that note, I do know that at our last meeting, as was included in the minutes, we did agree that we would seek ways to bring information forward to our citizens. And so our CAO has had some discussions and would like to propose maybe a start to a process. And then in addition to that, our staff have had some discussions internally that touch on some of the points that you've made here, Mr. Wilcox, and we'll come to that as a second bullet. But before doing that, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Trottier.
So thanks, Mayor Rochford. I did speak with a member of the Algonquin land claim team, basically, and did voice our concerns that we were looking for maybe a bit of a forum where our residents can ask questions, basically. So I am moving in that direction. If if council would like to see that happen, where I can bring some members of the Algonquin land claim team to a council meeting. It would have to be electronic through Zoom, like we were doing this evening. But what I had discussed with them is there could be an opportunity for residents to provide their questions in advance, and then council would ask the questions at the meeting and get answers from those team members, but not have it an open forum where everyone speaks at the same time, structured where the questions are provided in advance, and then council would have an opportunity as well to ask their own questions. It could also mean where the residents give their questions directly either to our clerk or to a council member, and that member brings it forward with the Algonquin land claim team on the Zoom call as well. So it would have to be a special meeting of council, not a regular meeting of council, because normally delegations, when we request them, are half an hour. It'd be, we don't want to limit it to that time, so it'd probably be best as a special meeting.
If I may just make a comment, I certainly, I think as we've heard from the resident, the preference is for an open dialogue, open meeting. Unfortunately, in this environment with COVID, we are very restricted in terms of what we can currently do. And so we don't want to delay this opportunity to have these discussions. And so this would be a start. Could it lead to a further discussion? Certainly, but at the very least, it would be in a certain sense structured. It would allow us to maybe cover more topics. And so personally, I do believe that it's a good way forward. And so if council would like to support that, our CEO would be ready to move forward on that and organize that with our community and with the members of the Algonquin land team negotiation team. I saw a couple thumbs up. I guess we can go with thumbs up if that's all right. Mr. Wilcox, you can put yours up as well if you're okay with that.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up. Thank you.
Certainly as part of this presentation, and we had been actually going a little bit in that direction, we certainly do share, Councillor Kelly mentioned 25 years. I think even at a last meeting, I mentioned that I had heard that we would never see the settlement in our lifetime. Someone had mentioned that it would be many, many years off. But to your point, it is, we do see activity now. And so I do share I really liked slide 11 that you presented, Mr. Wilcox, that talked about why take action. So there are things that we should be looking at shaping, if you had to put it in those terms, on behalf of our community. And so, certainly Councillor Lougheed makes an excellent point. There is an Indigenous history here in our community. There are reasons why these negotiations are ongoing. So we're mindful of all of that. At the same time, it is our municipality. It is our infrastructure that may be impacted. And so how do we look longer term? That vision that you talked about for McPherson Drive and Centennial Drive, we do, as much as I know there have been multiple issues seemingly touching McPherson Drive, we certainly share in that desire to have a vision that is good for all of our residents, and that certainly includes all of those that would be concerned along McPherson and Centennial Drive. And so with that thought in mind, we won't put anything forward definite right now this evening, but I do know that for council, I would say if that also meets with your support, I think we would like to start exploring that. We do go to meetings. For example, there's an upcoming Ontario Good Roads Association meeting where we could have an opportunity to make a delegation as a preliminary step, and maybe, for example, on road infrastructure with respect to this. And so there are certain things we could and should start looking at as we look forward to the future.
Right.
Would that be appropriate as well with council if we left it to staff to come back with some input on in terms of ideas with respect to maybe how to meet the future infrastructure needs that could be involved? Okay. Okay. On that note, then we come to the end. We do have all of the correspondence from previously from Mr. Horton, Madame Farron, Mr. Holmes. We do want to make sure to pass that on. We do want to mention that there are 2 days of consultation left where the public is invited. You do have, although I mean, I appreciate maybe that you're unsure of what impact that will have, but certainly it is a direct line, open to, and with our MPP, he has encouraged us to, and I see Councillor Kelly has his hand up. Yes, do proceed, Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. I did receive a call last week from Mr. Horton, and I did say that I would bring forward the fact that we would pass on Mr. Wilcox's and Mr. Horton's concerns because they're the spokespeople for a number of taxpayers. And when taxpayers can't get a straight answer, there's something wrong in a democracy. So the thinking is that we would pass on to our MPPs and our MP, letting them know the concerns our taxpayers are having because they can't get straight answers, and that's just wrong after this length of time. So that'd be an addendum to the meetings that we're going to have in the future. But at least it would give them a heads up of that people are just not happy. Thank you.
Thank you. So we commit to passing on that information first and foremost, organizing a first start. I'm not sure if we call it a town hall, but a discussion. And number 3, we want to examine that vision that you talked about, what that could mean for us as a municipality, what might be our infrastructure requirements, and to start examining what could be those implications and costs, and how do we go about maybe getting the technical information that we do require that you touch on in your slide presentation. C'est bon?
Great. Yeah.
Okay. So, but thank you to all members. I know there's other community members online, and we appreciate everyone's input, and we look forward to a future discussion on this. So thank you very much, Mr. Wilcox.
Thank you.
With that said, we will move forward now to our second delegation, and that is with Mr. George Elliott. And Mr. Elliott has a request to make of us regarding the Crown land at the end of Bertha Road. And so he's connecting via audio. I see that, and there's a nice sunset there in front of us. Can you hear us, Mr. Elliott?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We hear you very well. So you're good to proceed. You do have 10 minutes. And so please do proceed and outline what it is that you're seeking.
Okay. My name is George Elliott. I'm at 12 Wake Corbeil Road, and I've been here since 2008. Like I've been here quite a while, and the problem I'm having right now is the access from Bertha Road to the back into. Oh, I lost my whole train of thought. You took me off guard.
Okay, Mr. Elliott, if I may, then you're looking, it is from Bertha Road, the Skidoo Trails, correct? That you're seeking access to the what you believe to be Crown land at the rear. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So you feel that right now you don't have access. Is that correct? That's what you want to explain to us.
Well, we had access to it, but Jeff, prior to or during the end of hunting season, the man who owns the septic dump that's back there, apparently he has a gate there, and he locked it and stopped us from having access to the Crown land. And after discussing it with him and you people, that they did until the end of bow season. And he tells me it's his gate, but you guys, between the council and him, they put that gate on the municipality land. Now, there's an easy way to solve this. There's 2 boulders to the right of the gate, and they just have to be pushed out of the way to allow us to go through with the skidoos and our ATVs. And it only has to be about 5 feet, and then no pickup trucks will get back into the area.
Okay, Mr. Elliott, I think that, that concludes your comments. Is that correct?
Pretty well. There are quite a few residents that use that access to get into that area. And I was just hoping that it doesn't get locked up anymore on us.
If I may, I may open it up to council members. Are there any that have questions before we proceed? There is a solution that is being recommended here by our CAO to this matter. But before maybe get going there, maybe opening it up to any questions or comments.
Well, if the CEO has a recommendation or some sort of solution, I'll like to hear that one first.
I think you he'll be recommending that it goes to Public Works. So on that note.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Mayor Pauline, is that we can take a look at the committee level, because there's a few things that needs to be changed at the dump that we're looking at for the new year. So I can get a hold of George or Mr. Elliott and have further conversations with regards of his request, and then we can take it from there so I get a better understanding. I know the area quite well, Mr. Elliott. So I'm just not 100% sure what the ask is, but we can get there. That's not a problem. But because I know we've had some problems, some issues in that back of that area, so we'll have to look at it. So with support with everybody else, if you're okay with that, we can bring that to the committee level and we'll take a look at it and we'll work with Mr. Elliott. But please ask your questions or anything to Mr. Elliott.
Mr. Tretsi, did you want to add anything to the comments, or?
No, that pretty much sums it up, Mayor Rochford. I think it should go to the Public Works Committee for further discussion. There are reasons for why there was boulders put next to a gate. We have had issues at the landfill with thefts and people accessing our property. I mean, a no trespassing sign doesn't stop them, but boulders do in some ways, right? There's a reason why there's a gate and there's no access. I mean, there's liabilities for Jeff, who owns the septic company, with people accessing his property. He's got a lease with the M&R, exclusive lease for that area, and there's people trespassing on his property as well. There's concerns about people going into the lagoons. I mean, so there's reasons why things have been done. I mean, maybe it's not a perfect solution, but we have had people there that we don't want there, right? So I think we got to look at it about trying to balance both of those.
And so on that note, so we will engage with Mr. Elliott to see if there is a solution, because as Councillor Trahan mentioned, I guess it does not only impact Mr. Elliott, other people that use the skidoo trails. So that would be then our next step. Okay, very good. Mr. Elliott, are you okay with that approach?
Well, there's nothing I can do, but the easiest thing to do would be to move those 2 rocks so that we can go through. And then nobody will get back there with pickup trucks, and it shouldn't be a problem. You know, Jeff isn't locking the gate now. He was just having a bit of a dispute during toward the end of hunting season. That's why he locked the gate. And I do understand from the council about the problem with the theft from the dump. And the other solution to that would be is to put up one of those game cameras that goes right into one of the councilors' offices, and they can take pictures of the thieves that are going in there stealing things. You know, that would be a solution for them if they needed it, a fairly inexpensive one. It's just I don't want to see the access to the property shut down to us.
Councillor Kelly?
Yeah, just a little touch of irony. Good evening, Mr. Elliott. Little touch of irony. We put a camera up about 10, 12 years ago, and someone actually climbed the tree and stole the camera.
Yeah, I can believe that.
That's a
Yeah,
true
they'll-
story.
Yeah,
And the lagoon keepers at the time, the people that had the business prior to the present owner, we had a heck of a time getting them to close the gate and lock up behind them because there were people following in. So I understand there's a myriad of issues on this. I'll be meeting with Councillor Trahan, and we'll see what we can do at getting something that would be acceptable to all parties. Thank you.
C'est bon.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Elliott, for bringing your concerns forward. And so things will be picked up with Councillor Trahan at Public Works. And so appreciate very much you coming forward.
Okay, thank you for listening to me.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Mr. Elliott.
Okay,
Have
good
a
night. Thank you very much, Council. And that brings us to committee reports. And so we start with Public Works and Infrastructure. We have the minutes of December 17th. Councillor
Yes.
Trahan?
Yeah, so we had a meeting on the 17th of December. We've been in correspondence and we were trying to get some answers from the MTO with regards to community safety zones. We're going to have the manager speak with the police services board to also put a pitch in also. We're trying to get a safety zone in the area of Highway 94, from the railway tracks, the school, senior villas, the business areas, etc. So we're still trying to move ahead with that. As the residents of East Ferris seen, I put a post out on a weekend. We've posted up some Crime Stopper signs in the landfill area, McPherson Drive, the arena, and has been received well. And just in support of Crime Stoppers, we're in support of Crime Stoppers for the month of January. Further, we had a survey was done from 1 Mile Road, but it hasn't been. I haven't seen the survey or the results of the survey, so that's going to be probably coming up to the next meeting. I just know that it's been the survey was done, and as far as I know, it was pretty much in line of the road allowance. After that, our next meeting is January 18th.
Any questions of Councillor Trahan? Thank you very much, Councillor Trahan. We move on now to Community Emergency Management Committee. And as mentioned, we do have a meeting tomorrow afternoon. We then go to, there is no Fire and Emergency Services Committee. The Planning Advisory Committee, there were the minutes of December 16th that are included. Councillor Lougheed, I do believe you were present at that meeting. Did you want to make any comments?
I want to make sure that council, I'm sure you've read it all, but just to make sure to go through that. If you have any questions, I know Greg would be happy to answer, and I would be happy to answer. However, this is ongoing. That was deferred, and you know, I do think at some point I'm anticipating at least at the next meeting for more information to come, our decision to be made at this table, but also whatever this decision goes, that there will be feedback one way or the other. So yeah, so I'm just encouraging everyone to take a moment to read through that and reach out to Greg. And I don't know, Greg, if you have any additional comments or if anybody has any questions, but just the gist of it, it's a complicated one. So yeah, Greg, do you have anything to add to it?
I don't think I have anything to add right now. I think it would be best to let the Planning Advisory Committee meetings play out. We will have another scheduled meeting coming up next Wednesday, and there's sure to be many more presentations and information submitted. So I think it'd be best to just wait.
Agreed. Yeah. So okay, that's it for that. Thank you.
Just maybe to say on behalf of council to congratulate all involved for the work. I know there's always more work when there's a matter that becomes more contentious or more where there's more interest, I should say. And but it is good to see the planning process at work. We do have a planning advisory committee made up of very expert people, and so we do look forward to their input. We did note that they asked many good questions, as you pointed out, Councillor Lougheed, and so that information is being prepared and will come forward. So that is very good, and we're very fortunate to have citizens doing that work. So thank you very much. That brings us to the Committee of Adjustment. There was a meeting as well, December 16th. Any comments? I think, are there any questions of Councillor Lougheed with respect to the Committee of Adjustment?
It's pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Then brings us to Recreation, Parks and Culture. We have the minutes of December 9th. Councillor Kelly, did you want to make any comments?
Yes, thank you. I just, if you just check the minutes, we've got 3 recommendations. Two individuals recommended for the Sports Hall of Fame, and also another individual for the annual Sport Recognition Program Award. If council's in agreement with that, we'd like to proceed with that as well. Now, in keeping with that, I did talk to our manager as of today, and major concerns concerning the hold on the ice plant. I talked to our CIO earlier this afternoon after Premier Ford made his announcement, and really we're going to be looking at what recommendations come forward for the future of our ice plant this year, because now we're on hold till, Jason, if you don't mind, what's the date that the hold is until?
I believe Councillor Kelly would be February 10th. It's 28 days from today.
Exactly. And we don't know if that's going to be extended at that time. But in the meantime, we've got ice that no one can use. You know, I'd like everyone to give it some thought. It might be time to pull the plug on the season. I'm not sure. Because February the 10th, it doesn't leave us a lot of time. And our CIO and I were talking today, and I can see it's possible minor hockey might be pulling the plug early. And there's, sorry.
No, Councillor Kelly, those are good comments you make about, I mean, actually today's announcement. So I suspect there will be a discussion to be had with minor hockey. That will be our manager who will be having that discussion, our clerk.
Yes, that's correct.
CIO. Yes, Jason.
Yep.
Yeah, so Mayor Rochford and Council, Tom's already spoke to minor hockey. Basically,
Okay.
the ball's in their court. To me, at this point, there's no hockey for another month. That's going to be 6 weeks in total. So I believe that minor hockey is going to end up pulling their season, which at our point, we would be pulling the ice out. We wouldn't leave it in for a total of 6 weeks with no use to it. Not considering the cost of even just say hydro, right? So I believe we're going to know more tomorrow, if not the next day, that we'll end up pulling our ice out.
Is there any word from the curling? Is there any word from the curling club, Jason?
No information that I got as of today, but it would be the same point. They can't have curling either.
Right.
So we certainly wouldn't be keeping the ice in for curling, even if they could go forward.
Exactly.
The discussion being had at minor hockey right now is that if we're able to go back to hockey February 10th, it leaves like a month really for minor hockey. That's all that's left of the season. Is it really worth carrying everything out until then? Because the orders could be extended as well.
Mhm.
So even if so the decision would come to council that even if they decide to wait it out till February 10th and have a season, I don't think we could wait it out till February 10th to make our decision.
Exactly. And just for council's information, I do manage the fitness center, nonprofit fitness center, and we've been closed since Christmas. And now our closure is extended the same time, and we're hoping to reopen, but it's in the hands of the provincial government, quite frankly. And we've had extra costs because we've been sanitizing twice a day. And you know, you do what you can and you hope for the best, but these closures, it must be very hard on small businesses trying to make a profit.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any questions about the individuals? Because 2 of the individuals were held over from last year. And that's the 2 individuals that are going on the Sports Hall of Fame. So it's actually, the committee played catch up this year. And they're, all three are outstanding individuals. It's amazing for a small municipality, not only the athletes, but the builders and the volunteers we've had over the years. Truly phenomenal. And I think it's due recognition, in my opinion.
Councillor Kelly, those are nice comments. And I noted in our calendar that came out that they indicated that April would be Volunteer Appreciation Month, and it would also be Sports Hall of Fame recognition. And so I wasn't sure, I guess, I believe April is Volunteer Appreciation Month in Canada, correct? And so
It is,
that's
that's
why we're
correct.
tying everything together. So that, I mean, those are great activities to carry on virtually. There's so much we can do without necessarily being in person. And anyway, I encourage, I believe you're at the heart of those activities for April. And so we hope you have good creativity in how we bring that forward.
I hope we're all inoculated by then and we can attend.
I second that. That's good.
At any rate, and if we cannot attend, I think we'll defer it to a time to when we can attend, because that's recognition on a grand scale. And these individuals, I'm sure, would want family members and loved ones to attend with them.
That could very well be. So that may be the outcome. So for sure, good point. Yeah.
We'll wait and
look at
see.
that.
Hey, here's hoping. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that said, we move on to Economic Development Committee, and you had a meeting, I believe, Councillor Trahan, on December 16th.
We did. And try and bring some good news. As we know, we've dedicated the month of May to Small Business Awareness Month, and we're going to try and do I'm going to bring something ahead for the next council meeting, but we're going to try and bring a virtual business event this year to the residents that we can do, and we're going to try and have a company assist us on that, so we can expose our great businesses of East Ferris as well as our great small businesses, and we can maybe do this a virtual event in place of our trade show. So we're going to try and work out a few things on it. I got to talk to Greg about it a little bit more, and then we're going to bring it forward to council hopefully by the next council meeting. I've been working on the snowmobile trails for a little bit. Trying to get access to the Fresh Mart. I had one trail that I was looking at, and I was hoping it was going to go through. It fell through. So there's another possible route, but I've been trying to get a hold of people, but it's been really tough trying to do that right now with everything. So I'm trying to respect everybody's wishes. So we're trying to get a route for the snows to come off the lake safely to the Fresh Mart, so they can obtain fuel and supplies. So I'm still working on that, just for if anybody was wondering. And also there was some information forwarded from a couple other representatives of the meeting. The NOHFC, which is the Northern Ontario Heritage Funds. There's supposed to be some new announcements in January. And there also is, there's some small business assistance and supports. If you need any assistance, you can contact Nico. And then from there, that's pretty much all it. Let's make sure. So we have another meeting coming up, and I'll bring more information once to council, once we can work out some details with the virtual trade show.
C'est bon, Councillor Trahan. It is important to continue life to some extent, if, as much as we can virtually. When we had those, no, I wouldn't call them ads, but the testimonials that went forward during Small Business Week of our business community, we know how highly, how they were so well received. So it's an example of what we can do online, virtually, and that goes over very well. So good work, good effort to try to bring a virtual trade show forward. That is wonderful.
Yeah. And we're going to try and during that time too, we're going to try and have more businesses and try and do it on a monthly end, or try and make it a little bigger, make it, we have so many businesses and great businesses in our community that we could start doing maybe one a month or something. So it's something we're going to look at.
C'est bon. So do we have a resolution here, a recommendation, Madam Clerk, is that correct?
Yes, we do. The Economic Development Committee had two resolutions. Actually, that was all blended in one, but I broke it in two. So I
Okay.
require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Lougheed. So whereas the Economic Development Committee recommended to Council to hire Karen Jones Consulting to plan a virtual event for 2021 in place of the East Ferris Trade Show, be it hereby resolved that Council approves of this recommendation.
All in favor? So carried, c'est beau, thank you. The second
The
resolution.
second one, I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Lougheed. Whereas the economic development introduced in 2020 the business showcases and was proven to be successful, and whereas the Economic Development Committee recommended to Council to continue throughout the year on a more permanent basis to highlight the businesses in our community, be it hereby resolved that Council approves of this recommendation.
All in favor? C'est bon, thank you so much.
Before we carry on, Mayor Rashval, I'm coming back to the Recreation Committee. Councillor Kelly said that he had recommendations to bring forward to Council with the support of the Hall of Fame. In reviewing the minutes of the Recreation, the minutes didn't really foresee that it was recommended to Council, so there was no resolutions prepared. It was just saying that the Recreation Committee supports. So for the next Council meeting, I will have the package ready for Council with the literature involved, and there will be the proper resolution drafted up.
I think it would also be important just to verify, I do believe the committee, as was structured, has the ability to carry these nominations.
Okay.
That would be just to verify, maybe
see
they
what we
did things
can.
perfectly, you know, and so just to make sure. Either
Okay,
way,
do
all
a
is good.
review.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
I noted that as a good comment, Madam Clerk. We come to then the Communications Committee. We have a meeting next week.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
We come forward to the East Fair Centennial Celebration Committee, and so with my co-chair, Mr. Trahan, we had an excellent meeting yesterday, and we do see that we have a calendar that has been put out, and we have made a commitment to go forward. We have, however, we do recognize, and if I make Councillor Trahan, I'll make the comments, and please, I'll turn it over to you in a moment. Then our commitment is to do things that adhere to the provincial guidelines, provincial order. And so basically, if we can encourage activities where people, they can do at home. So for example, have a, that will be our direction, to adhere and to simply encourage activities, otherwise cancel the activity moving forward. So with that said, I turn it over to Councillor Trahan.
Yeah, that's correct. We're definitely working with the with our guidelines from direction from the provincial government, and we'll see what that looks like after February 10th. It may interfere with a few of our events, but we'll see what we can do.
Okay, thank you so much. The municipal office project as well, there was no meeting. And so again, we'll be coming back to those matters at a later date. We move now to board reports. The library board, there was a meeting on December 14th. I do believe, Councillor Lougheed, that you were present. Any comments?
No, there aren't too many additional comments to make other than what's in the minutes here. But working towards, again, the budget, the draft of the budget, and working how we're going to manage this next year with this with the ups and downs. And as you guys are aware, our the library CEO is really good at following a budget. So we're just working at that, and then just continuing to enhance and add to fundraising and fundraising policies, and lots of good work going there. So that's about it for me to report. Thank you.
Any questions? Good work. Thank you, Councillor Lougheed. It brings us to the Police Services Board, and we did have a meeting. And so just a few comments, and Madam Clerk is always with me at those meetings, so please don't hesitate to add, Madam Clerk, comments. I did want to touch on the fact that at our meeting was Mr. Gary Fay, that we know we have retained to help us with the preparation of the community safety and well-being plan. And for those of you that know him, he is an expert, and so we could not have picked a better person, I thought. Very knowledgeable. And you'll see in this evening's correspondence, the province have given extensions to the preparation of the community safety and well-being plan to June, so that is all good. So basically, with his presence now, we are resuming where we had left off with community consultation. The committee had engaged with certain stakeholders in our community. So, but because COVID hit, we had to cancel. So now we're going to do that virtually. We are also, we are preparing a survey for our community. And so that's being done. Mr. Fay has brought forward an example of a good survey. So we're going to be looking at doing that online with our citizens. And so basically, we also will recall that Council had positioned the community safety and well-being plan as an activity of a subcommittee of the Police Services Board. Because we are a smaller community, we felt that we need to position it somewhere where it will get the needed attention. So we are also looking to add the necessary community members that come from the sector of well-being. And so, for example, representation from our health unit. And so we want to ensure their participation. And again, here, Mr. Fay is helping us in that regards. The Project Lifesaver, I just want to touch on that. This is a new initiative that was put forward by the Ontario Provincial Police. It's to be able to, if someone is lost, and there was a story, I think, just before Christmas of someone that was found that did have the bracelet. And so it's an example that of a good program that it can help people that have Alzheimer's or seniors or other members of our community. So basically, they were asking, pardon me? Everything okay? They were asking for money, but basically they Rebuild Resources provided the full funding. And so we sent a letter of appreciation on our behalf, on behalf of our citizens, for their contribution to doing that. And we want to make sure as well that we bring this to the attention of Club Action 50 Plus, Nipissing Manor, for example. So that will be parts of our next step. All of the speed data that was collected by the Public Works and has been passed on to the Ontario Provincial Police, and we're going to be coming back to discussions on that, but they're analyzing that data at this point. Finally, to finish with, I noted that I don't think we circulated the last copy of the OPP, the quarterly report, but Madam Clerk, if we have a chance to include that in the weekend report. And I must say that, I believe almost our reports have always been, if I may put it that, overall steady. But certainly this last quarter that ended in December, we did see deterioration, and certainly we are aware as a municipality of the incidents that have been going forward. And so they are certainly reflected in the statistics that they come forward and that you will see. They are mainly in the category of property theft. They are also in the category of just operational calls related to domestic disputes, complaints. And so as with other communities in Ontario and across Canada, we are no exception. And that is why it's good that we have Crime Stoppers. And the Police Services Board has put forward we are starting an educational campaign, and our staff are coming forward with ideas of how that will be rolled out. There's a small budget, I believe, has been put aside for that. So it is something that is rolling, that will be coming back to council as we proceed. Very much, we noted virtually and we recognize that we almost have a virtual neighborhood watch through the social media that exists in our community. And we say that that is very powerful. It's real-time neighborhood watch, and it has certainly many benefits, but to that is tied the obligation to involve the Ontario Provincial Police. And so to reach out always, and that is very much the message that we want to put forward. But the Ontario Provincial Police, I must say, are very creative. They brought forward a lot of good ideas of how we can pass on information to our citizens, which we're, as I mentioned, looking at doing. And as well with Crime Stoppers, to Councillor Tarahan's point, this is an organization, if you're concerned, you can bring forward information on a, what do you call that, on a confidential basis, anonymous basis. And so again, important organizations to reach out to if we see any suspicious activity in our neighborhoods. Councillor Lougheed.
Thank you so much for that report. I just want to make sure that so the data that you said you sent in, at what point are we going to get them? Is that in that quarterly report? Are we going to get also the data from that speed month?
No, the data from the speed is actually a joint project with the Public Works, and I believe our staff have asked our engineer to prepare a summary, and I believe that is being prepared now. That was only done, I guess, request went in about 2 weeks ago, so that is what we'll be seeing in the next, I think very shortly, I suspect.
So is that separate from, can I just make you understanding?
Yes.
So you're talking about the speed data from our signs?
Yes.
And then I'm curious about the data coming from the OPP from their speed blitz.
So,
is the only word I have for it, but that month, November, where I saw them on one day, but I'd be curious to know the data from that. I'm wondering if you can give any insight on when they can see that.
At our last meeting with the OPP, which was in when that was wrapped up, they had not been able yet. They are so right now overwhelmed with the level of activity, and they were unable to pull all of that necessarily together. And so that was where that was left off. But certainly one of the issues they do have as the Ontario is having specific data for East Fares. They, as a unit, they collect information for the detachment area, which includes Highway 63. So we don't have specific information for East Fares, but as a result of our requests, they're now going to start electronic ticketing, so where they will be able to collect specific information for East Fares. The point is that whatever they need to get that's specific for East Fares, they have to go into databases and pull it out. So they have specific issues when it comes to speed control in putting together specific information for us. But that said, they are very receptive, and so we will get further reports to your point, Councillor Lougheed. Okay, with that said, then if there's no other question, we will proceed with, departmental reports and resolutions. And we have a report by Madame Clerk. And so we turn it over to you, Madame Clerk.
Okay. Council members, this report is generated based on Municipal Act and the Municipal Elections Act. I won't read the report fully, but I made highlights, so I'm going to go through the highlights that I prepared for council. So with this report, council needs to declare the office of council vacant. Council requires to consider appointing a person to fill the vacant seat on or before March 12, 2021. And council choose a recommended option to fill the vacant seat. So under the Municipal Act, it provides two methods for filling of a vacant seat. One would be by appointing a person who has consented to accept the office if appointed. This can be done in several ways. Council can advertise for qualified applicants, or appoint the runner-up from the 2018 municipal elections, or the vacant seat can be filed by a by-election in accordance with the Municipal Elections Act. Filling the vacancy through a by-election is an obvious solution with a significant financial impact on the municipality at a cost of over $14,000. Filling the vacancy by appointment can be done by advertising of the vacancy and submission of interested and qualified applicants, or the appointed council could be done by appointing the runner-up from the 2018 municipal elections. In advertising for the vacancy for submissions of interested qualified individual would be a nominal financial impact on the municipality, and by appointing the runner-up in the October 2018 municipal elections, there would be no financial impact on the municipality. So this report provides 3 options for council to fulfill the councillor vacancy. So we start with council's option 1 would be a by-election. It's not a favorable option for council. The cost of a by-election would run over $14,000, and we're already past the halfway mark of the council term. The time frame set out in the Municipal Elections Act would take between 75 to 105 days from the date the bylaw is passed until voting day, which means the office could remain vacant for several months. So this is not a recommended option. Number 2 is advertise for qualified applicants and having an opportunity to hear them present on subjects that affect the municipality does have merit. The financial impact would be minimum to the municipality. So this is one of 2 recommended options. Number 3, council simply asked a candidate from the 2018 municipal elections with the highest number of votes that was not elected to assume the seat. The first runner-up is eligible to hold office. From the results of the 2018 municipal election, there were 40 votes separating the first runner-up from the last successful councillor candidate, and a difference of 331 votes separating the first runner-up to the second runner-up. There is no financial impact on the municipality in appointing the runner-up. So this is one of 2 recommended options. So respectfully submitted to council.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And so if I understand correctly, we should start by number A, which is declaring the seat vacant.
That is correct. So I can read the resolution before I ask for a mover and a seconder if council is more comfortable that way. So my resolution would read, the first resolution, that council for the municipality of East Ferris declare the office of councillor to be vacant at the January 12th, 2021 council meeting.
So now you'd like us, someone to put forward that motion, someone to second before we vote or have
That's
questions.
correct.
Councillor Kelly
So,
and Councillor
Councillor
Trahan.
Kelly. And Councillor Trahan.
Any questions before we proceed to a vote? And all of this is in accordance with the Municipal Act as we proceed. Any questions? No? All in favor? C'est bon, carry. And so now we move forward with the, item B? Yes.
Pardon me. The second resolution is a standard resolution, so I can require a mover and a seconder because we did declare the seat vacant. So if I could have a mover and a seconder, I'll proceed with reading the resolution. So moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Lougheed. The resolution reads, moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Lougheed, that council of the municipality of East Ferris consider appointing a person to fill the vacancy on or before March 12, 2021, in brackets, within 60 days of the declaration. This is standard following the declaring the vacant seat.
Okay. So I suspect no discussion is required. All in favor? C'est bon, carry. Thank you. Which brings us now to recommendation number C, which is that we consider option 2 or option 3. And before proceeding with putting a recommendation or motion on the table, we will do a roundtable to see if that's appropriate with council, to see where your position, what your thoughts are, if I put it in those terms. So we will proceed with Councillor Trahan.
So My wishes are to stand it down so I can take a look at the 3 options and then come back to council in the next council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Tran. Do you mind explaining what it is that you don't understand, or that is there anything that could be clarified this evening by Madame Clerk?
No, thanks.
Thank you. On that note, we proceed with Councillor Kelly.
Sure, I'd like to defer, like to look it over and look at our options. Thank you.
And again, Councillor Kelly, you're a very experienced councillor. These options are fairly straightforward. On behalf of our taxpayers, you know that we will be deferring a matter that could be resolved easily. Could you explain your thought process here for us?
Well, it's a path we've not been down before. This is my 5th term, and I enjoy what I do, and I take it seriously, and that's why I want to look at it and explore all our options.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Councillor Lougheed?
Thank you. It's tricky because, you know, I support if people want to take time to read things. However, I'm in support of option 3.
I'm sorry, of option?
3. The point the runner up.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lougheed, which was in keeping with our discussion with a former discussion that we had on that topic. Okay. So on that note, we do not have a quorum, so we will have to defer it. May I ask our 2 councillors that are choosing here to defer how long it will take you to, is this a matter of days, a matter of weeks, a matter of months? How do you see it going forward? Councillor Trahan and Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, so I said the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kelly?
Oh, I'd agree with that.
So you like to agree with Councillor Trahan. Okay, thank you so much. We appreciate very much your position. And with that, we will move forward then to our, any other comments before we move forward? Councillor Kelly?
Now that we also have a couple of vacancies on committees, and I'd like to know when we're looking at filling the vacancies on those committees, please.
Well, certainly, I mean, it is an area of, we're now short a member, and so until we have a full council, we're unable to fill the positions on our committees. Historically, in our municipality, it has always been the responsibility of the mayor to discuss with councillors their preference, starting with the deputy mayor. There's usually an order that goes through with that particular discussion. But we do not have, that is the process that we have followed in this particular municipality, and that we followed in the last round. So that is very much the direction, Councillor Kelly. So we will need to await the addition of our additional member of our council to be able to examine how we fill those positions. I certainly welcome the opportunity to have one-on-one discussions with councillor members that may have some preferences or that would like to work on specific issues. I do know that I personally have an interest in working on the active transportation file. So I do believe that there are some interests around the table, and it's important that we try to align those if we can. And so we need to look at the many considerations. And so that would be the direction. Councillor Lougheed and then Councillor Kelly.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, Councillor Kelly. Maybe now is not the right time, but I would like to discuss like maybe how these things are done in the future, because I know that, and this is not an insult to anyone, I didn't know that that was the way that we picked people when I came on council, and I prefer a different route, a little bit more of an equitable route, instead of having the one-on-ones. I don't think I fully, when I got onboarded, I don't think I fully understood the committees as much, and also the like what was. I needed a little bit more from that, and it felt like I was left out of. Not, I know you didn't do it on purpose. I'm just saying that it just didn't feel like a good process. So I'd like to also maybe take time to re-examine that in the future as well. So just making that side note.
Tonight as well, we're going to be appointing a deputy mayor, and it's another area where it has been a practice, and that is how we've proceeded. And there are many other councils across the land that do proceed in these manners because it's in setting up how we work. And the mayor does carry under the Municipal Act, the chief executive officer position, and it falls under those specific responsibilities of setting up the business of the council. So I can appreciate that it's not necessarily always a perfect outcome, but we do work to try, and I believe it is working well. We do have good committees that are doing good work, and so at this point, that is the direction that is being encouraged. Councillor Kelly, sorry, yes.
That being said, the mayor, as you know, Mayor, you're de facto member of all committees, which is part of the provincial act. But I'd like to put my name forward to be on roads with Councillor Trahan, and I'd like to put my name forward to be on planning with Councillor Lougheed.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly.
Just putting it out there. Thank you.
Yes.
And I agree with transparency. So I too would like to amend the process and to involve all of council as far as the appointments go. I'm with Councillor Lougheed in that one. Thank you.
So we'll be coming back on January 26th.
That's correct.
So we move forward now with CAO verbal reports regarding our administrative matters.
So Mayor and Council, I just want to bring it forward to you. I have nothing in writing at this time. It was more to see if Council had an appetite with it, but I was approached by the company that manages the leases for Canada Post. So we've got Canada Post that operates out of our community center, and they do need more space. So the discussion was they wanted to know if we had additional space available in the community center so that they can expand. In looking at the community center, we do know that we've got the commercial lease where we used to have a hair salon. That space, I say it's available. It has been used by community groups for meeting purposes. We were looking to somewhat have a bit of an office in there, a retail location for our centennial as well, but that's a more of a temporary nature. The discussion right now, if you look at the floor plans for that area, putting a hole in one wall completely connects both commercial units. So before I go down the path of discussing with Canada Post and revisiting our lease with them, I want to know if this is something that council's got an appetite for, so that I can move forward with.
Councillor Kelly?
Yes, I go back about 12 years ago. The municipality was approached by Canada Post, and we were basically virtually told that one day we're going to lose our post office in Asterville. Now, there was a post office at one time at Voyer's store, and then we were told that we're going to be closing up Asterville and everybody had to go to Callender, which would be a major imposition to our taxpayers. So I'm in all, if expanding an unused into an unused area, not only would be more revenue, it would kind of lock them into a new contract on a long-term basis. I think it's a win-win deal. So I'm all for it, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Other comments?
I agree with Councillor Kelly on that.
Bon. And so on that note, I don't think we require a resolution. We're good to proceed. So you'll be coming back to us with the details of the lease.
That's correct, Mayor Rochford. Once I have a discussion with Canada Post, if they deem it as something they can move forward with, then we'll be bringing an agreement forward to council.
Bon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we move forward to administrative bylaws. And so again, Mr. CEO, we turn it over to you. Do you want to touch on those, or do we proceed directly with reading the bylaws, Madam Clerk? Sorry.
Actually, they're annual bylaws, they're standard bylaws that we do on an annual basis, and they're always assigned number 1, 2, and 3. So they're our first bylaws of the year. So they're just standard, regular administration bylaws.
So we don't need to read them? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I have to read the resolution and move and carry, but we don't have to go through, explain what the bylaw is. The first one is just a temporary borrowing bylaw. So that gives us permission to borrow from time to time if we require. So the bylaw is in place for this year and it's only for the year 2021.
C'est bon?
Okay, so could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Trahan, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Whereas Council for the Municipality of East Ferris deems it expedient to pass 3 readings of the following bylaw this session, be it hereby resolved that a bylaw to authorize temporary borrowing from time to time to meet current expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time and passed and numbered 2021-01, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
All in favor? C'est bon. Thank you. We'll move to number 2. Now we know your system for number 2.
Jason gets all on one,
2102. Okay. Pardon.
I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Lougheed. Whereas Council for the Municipality of East Ferris deems it expedient to pass 3 readings of the following bylaw this session, be it hereby resolved that a bylaw to provide for interim tax rates for the year 2021 be read a first, second, and third time and passed and numbered 2021-02, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
All in favor? C'est bon. Thank you.
Okay,
And so the third one,
mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Trahan. Whereas Council for the Municipality of East Ferris deems it expedient to pass 3 readings of the following bylaw this session, be it hereby resolved that a bylaw to set tax ratios for the Municipality of East Ferris for the year 2021 be read a first, second, and third time passed and numbered 2021-03, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
all in favor? C'est bon. Thank you. Okay, so we'll proceed now to correspondence. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And so on that note, we've got quite a bit of correspondence, although a lot of it is duplication to some extent. Councillor Traha, anything that you'd like to touch on or bring forward? You're on mute, Councillor Traha. Okay.
Sorry about that. No, there's a lot of duplication and I'm good right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly?
Yes, just a couple of things. I've got a Phenom meeting coming up on Friday morning at 8:30. It's virtual. So if there's anybody has any input or any questions or anything, I'm attending a multi-minister meeting at Roma with Phenom. So if you have any issues that you want brought up, if you could let me know, please, either give me a call or email, that'd be great. I do have one question. Council memberships 2021. We've always been a member of NEOR, if I'm not mistaken, Northeastern Ontario Recreation Association. And I would recommend it, especially for our management staff in recreation, simply because I've been a member for a number of years myself, but they're hands-on. You're dealing with people that put the ice in, take the ice out, and run programs for the young, middle-aged, and the seniors. So I think it's a real association. It's not very costly. So I would recommend we join for 2021. And that's Nora, Northeastern Ontario Recreation Association, if it's possible. Normally I attend, normally what's been happening, I've attended the conferences. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. No, he was, Mr. Tracy will
Sorry,
add
I'm
a
frozen
comment.
out for a second. Oh,
I think go ahead, Jason.
Yes, so in response to Councillor Kelly's comment, these are just council memberships. So staff have other memberships. So our manager at the arena could possibly have a membership with NEORA, just like our clerk has a membership with AMCTO, right? So these are specific to council and they're put through council's budget.
Okay. The other comment I have is the letter from Phil Koenig. I'd just like to thank him for the letter, and we'll take it under advisement, as we previously discussed.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Lougheed, Councillor Lougheed?
No other notes. There's a lot of duplication for, excuse me. There's a lot of duplication for support of conservation authorities. I'm okay with, if we haven't, I couldn't remember, but I don't think we did support
Well,
those.
it's because we'll recall at our last meeting, we mentioned that the bill was passed. And so it includes Schedule 6, but just pardon me, I'll add, go ahead.
No, we're probably on the same page, so go ahead. No, by all means.
Well, the nice development in all of this is that Brian Taylor has been named to this, there's this provincial committee that has been formed. And he is such an informed and good diplomat. And so they have formed a committee, and he has been named to that committee, the working group, as they've called it. And so that is basically where we need to feed any, I think it would be a good spot to pass on any comments or concerns that we do have directly to Brian Taylor.
Okay.
I see Jason has his hand up. Pardon me. Go ahead. Yeah.
If I may, Mayor Rochford, you had a question as well. When the legislation first came out, it had basically stipulated that mayors wouldn't be able to sit on conservation authority.
Yes.
Only councillors is
Yes.
what the term was. I did speak with Brian Taylor from Conservation Authority. The wording has been changed to be council members,
Correct.
not specifically councillors. So
Correct.
I had forgot to mention that to you, and because we're speaking of Conservation Authority, I thought I'd bring it up.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's good. Okay. And just was wondering, if there's anything else further that we can do to support, I'm open to it. And just hopping onto what you said, Councillor Kelly, that, if we want that letter from Mr. Koenig to go to communications, that's a good spot for it too. If we want. Other than that, that's it for me. Thank you.
It is a good spot for Mr. Koenig's letter. Council, I think Councillor Law, he makes a very good point. It concerns the website, the reskinning, and so it is a letter that could very much maybe add value to the discussion at the Communication Committee. So if there are no objections, we would follow Councillor Lawheed's direction here. Thank you. Okay, I think we're good with all of that. Yeah. So moving forward, we come to action items, approval of correspondence.
I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Lougheed, seconded by Councillor Trahan. That council acknowledge the correspondence and information as circulated with the agenda and dated the 12th day of January 2021.
All in favor? C'est bon. We move to item B, Region of Peel, that we'd asked that be brought forward.
I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Trahan, seconded by Councillor Kelly. That the municipality of East Ferris supports the letter and resolution from the Region of Peel sent to the Minister of Finance regarding the property tax exemptions for veterans clubs.
C'est bon. All in favor? I think we like that. Yes, very much. And now we come to resolution C. And so again, I turn it over to you, Madam Clerk, to read it.
Okay, so I have the resolution prepared, but it is a council decision and I left it blank. So I am just going to say that council of the municipality of East Ferris appoints Councillor blank as a deputy mayor for the remaining term of council. So council may decide.
And so again here, this is again a practice that we have, that it is the councillor with the most votes that carries the title of deputy mayor. We could delay this to January 26th if you'd like, but I would recommend that we move forward with this evening. I think those are all good decisions. And so I think Councillor Trahan, if he would, I'd like to put forward his name as part of that resolution, that he be named as our deputy mayor. And so if, don't think we need to reread the resolution. All in
Well, I
favor?
require a mover and a seconder, and then
Oh.
I will reread it. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Lougheed. The Council of the Municipality of East Ferris appoints Councillor Trahan as the Deputy Mayor for the remaining term of council.
All in favor? I'll vote for that as well. I guess c'est bon. Thank you very much and congratulations, Councillor Trahan.
Thank you, Mayor Rushford.
Ouais, c'est bon. And so we look forward to your leadership here very much. It'll be good as we move forward in a very important year. We move now to approval of the 2021 membership.
No, we missed one resolution, I believe.
Oh, the signing officer.
Number
Pardon me.
D, yeah.
We go ahead.
So now that we've appointed the Councillor Trahan as Deputy Mayor Trahan, we require to have his signature for our banking information, as we need 2 signing officers on the council side and 2 in the administration side. So we will be appointing Deputy Mayor Trahan as the signing officer for the municipality of East Ferris for banking purposes. So I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Lougheed. That Deputy Mayor Trahan be appointed as signing officer for the municipality of East Ferris for banking purposes.
All in favor? C'est bon, thank you. Approval of the 2021 memberships now.
Moved by Councillor Trahan, seconded by Councillor Kelly. That council approved the 2021 membership list as prepared at the regular meeting of council held January 12, 2021.
All in favor? C'est bon, thank you. Carried. Approval of accounts payable.
Okay. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Lougheed. That council approved the general accounts for the municipality of East Ferris as indicated in the check register dated January 12, 2021 in the amount of $1,07,741.06.
All in favor? C'est bon. Other business? None. In camera? None. Conformatory bylaw?
Okay. Moved by Councillor Lougheed and seconded by Councillor Trahan. Whereas council for the municipality of East Ferris deems it expedient to pass 3 readings of the following bylaw at this session, be it hereby resolved that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council from December 8, 2020 to January 12, 2021 be read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered 2021-04, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
All in favor? Bon, thank you so much. So thank you very much. This will move us to our adjournment. And so encourage very much council to watch for the report that will be coming forward from our CEO following the Emergency Management Committee tomorrow.
So I require a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Trahan. That we do now adjourn at 7:53 p.m. and meet again on January 26, 2021.
All in favor? C'est bon, thank you. Thank you very much and good evening to everyone. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, take care.
Bye.